didn't cover her partner in mayo before she ate her. We open with the narrator once again abdicating her duties to Yui because she has other scenes in this episode to ruin. And we cut over to Kokune's insane castle of a home. Seriously, is Rocky gonna start climbing those stairs? Anyway, on top of already having the ability to see the food fairies, Kokune also had an eye for someone else. Oh, don't mind me, I'm just playing a pity party for Takumi is all. But yeah, as it turned out, it was the first day of the new school year, and she ended up in the same class as Yui. Also, for whatever reason, everyone called her Fua-sama, even though we all know the only Fua who really matters is not a fairy or this girl, but rather this guy. Alright, to be fair, I guess Yui's friend here did give a few valid reasons for her popularity. I didn't say anything, I swear! Point is, people were idolizing her for entirely superficial reasons, which the girl herself seemed to be aware of and rightfully didn't want to have to deal with these plebs. Of course, our main character could see beyond the money and the status, but the same couldn't exactly be said for this pup. Not to mention, y'all do kind of color match pretty well, but I'm sure that won't play into anything. At the same time, we learned a few more things about Komi here. Well, not the fact that she can switch between beast and anthro at will, but more that apparently she can eat things aside from rice, in spite of that literally being the only thing that she can say right now. However, she wasn't the only one who enjoyed the creation of a guy with a gambling problem, as allegedly, bread was also the favorite food of Godots. Moreover, in order to make up for her previous failures, Secretary suggested Gentle steal more than one bread-based fairy, which could lead to an interesting mechanic if done right, but we'll talk more about that in just a bit. The next day at school, oh no.
Yui-chan wa Kokone-chan to hanasou to shimasu ga, nakanaka umaku ikimasen. Kousatsu arigatou!
Ahem, anyway, Yui tried to track down Kokone and got some advice from that one girl who's been the biggest victim of the Bundle Gang in the show so far. Thus, while I am glad that she was able to finally eat something without turning into crap, I'm also a little bit disappointed that they didn't maintain this running gag. But oh well, she's probably not going to be that important of a character anyway. Yui did eventually find Kokone, who was trying to move a landing pad all on her own. And while our main heroine probably could have moved it on her own, fortunately, Yui was nowhere near as pessimistic as Tendo, and they moved the pad together, and as it turned out, Kokone was trying to look for a rabbit that had run off, which was very cleverly visually told to us through the scene, and thankfully not ruined by the narrator over-explaining things and just keep it up, lady. That aside, this was a pretty good character establishing moment for Kokone, showing both a positive side in her inherent kindness, but also a little bit of her negative side in her stubbornness. Now, of course, Yui only took notice of the former, and wanted to introduce her to Pom Pom and her literal sad puppy dog eyes. Yeah, the pooch had snuck into the school to try and win Kokone over, which was pretty darn easy. Thus, they set up a play date at their local bakery. There, they broke some bread, or sandwich in this case, though that has to be some really tender ham if Yui could break it in half so cleanly, and holy hell! Okay, that's either a bone-shaped piece of bread, which is different, or Pom Pom is secretly a hyena. Anyway, all of their bread eating ended up attracting some of the fairies, which resulted in the two learning that the other could see them, as well as signal Gentle to strike. And yeah, interestingly enough, she managed to capture 3 fairies simultaneously, which would result in something a little different. But first, Rosemary had arrived, in spite of seemingly staying at home. Okay, Precure, please, can we get more comedy like this and less of... Gentle created a monster of the week using a food scale, which of course meant it was time for Rosemary to play his field spell. However... Now, literally on the inside, Kokone bared witness to both her dog talking as well as Yui's transformation. However, there was no time to worry about that, as Yui had to fight a slightly stronger monster of the week. Yeah, not too surprisingly, Gentle explained that with more fairies, the Ubazo will grow stronger. And while it does feel like they're breaking out the stronger monsters out a little early into the season, I'll give it more than a pass, as it does justify what's coming up. As after being offered a way out, Kokone stuck around wanting to help, because while she was very aware of her loner tendencies, Yui was different in that she didn't see her for her social standings. Yeah, this was nothing groundbreaking, but we'll talk more about that later, as it was transformation time. And while I still find it really damn creepy that it looks like she eats her dog, I do like the touch that Kokone's base form seems to be more of a western dress versus Yui's kimono, giving the transformations their own unique flavors, you could say. Help's Precure design was distinguishingly western looking, almost looking like something that the British royal family would wear. Otherwise, it played out similarly to Yui's transformation, except for whatever this pose is. Like, are you trying to do a final vent or maybe even a Z move? From there, Kokone had a very good first fight, even playing out a decent double team against the outdated device. Seriously, digital skills are so much better. Her moveset seemed to be defense-based, with projections of bread acting as shields, but she could also use them to, of course, sandwich her enemies for offensive attacks. Gee, it's almost like shield bashing is a viable attack that should be used more in this franchise. Anyway, Kokone defeated the monster, though not with a square, but rather a circle finisher. Like, did she decide to switch from bread to buns? Well, whatever. She took in the 3 fairies, I'm assuming mostly to catch up with Yui's 3, speaking of whom. Arigato. I can already hear Nissan Kobo getting right to work on their next book. With that, the episode ended with them breaking bread once again, this time appropriately with curry bread. And also, yes, the cure name Spicy was blue instead of red, but to be fair, if they did that, well, then she would probably look a little bit too much like Ryuki now, wouldn't she? This was a pretty good debut for the resident blue of this team. While still a fairly standard loner blue archetype, Kokone is more than enough of a likable character who does have good morals and courage. And at least her first fight was impressive, showing how shields can be used offensively as well as defensively, not naming any names. Then again, I think the thing I personally appreciate the most is just all the Kamen Rider references I can make in these videos. With the arrival of the second cure of the season, I will admit, there still isn't that much attracting me to this season, but also nothing that's deterring me from it, well, other than the narrator. And things might start to shake up next week, as by the looks of it, the first secondary writer of the season is going to be up to bat, so we'll see how they build off of this series. To say the least, they have plenty of wiggle room, as Kokone's writing is mostly following the lonely rich girl template to the T. She wants to meet people like Yui who can see her for herself and not her family's name. And yeah, I do hope that they go a little beyond this archetype that's a dime a dozen, not just in this franchise. Maybe they could play up more of her curiosity and definitely more of her relationship with Pom Pom, who actually had a little bit of an arc in this episode with her realizing that she was over-idolizing Kokone just a little. The girl herself is certainly well-mannered, and I do want to see her get along with Yui more. And I know some other viewers would like to see that even more so. Though again, I feel bad that Takumi didn't even show up in this episode. Still, overall, this was a nice episode with an enjoyable new character, as well as some interesting new developments for the villains and how they can create stronger monsters. The ingredients have been laid out, so let's see what the next writer can bring to the table. Even though the show itself ended about a month ago, I still have got a lot of Tropical Rouge to cover. Of course, there's that whole overview that I did not procrastinate on, I just need to work out this new format. Though now, I also need to shift my focus onto the fall film from last year. We'll probably shoot for a release on the 1st of March, though that also means that we'll have to skip this week's Wednesday review as a result. Still look forward to it, and until then though, for now my friends, and if you want a little preview of that film's review, well, here's my initial thoughts.
But now it's all over. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I'll let you try and figure that out.